The geyser will be going off very soon. It is now 10:15. The geyser is supposed to be going off at 10:15. Anytime now.
Morning folks, welcome to Waiatapu Thermal Wonderland. Lady Knox Geyser here. It's my pleasure this morning to tell you a little bit about her before it all happens. This area, well, it all started about 100 or so years ago. At that time, this area was nothing more nor less than a barren wilderness covered in light scrub and bush. And over the bank from where you parked your cars this morning, there was a prison camp. In fact, it was the first open prison in New Zealand. And the prisoners that were sent to that camp, well, it was their job to clear that bush and scrub out of the way and prepare the land for the planting of trees. In fact, most of the forests that you folks see between Rotorua and Taupo, including this one in front of you, were originally started using prison labour. And it was a gang of those prisoners that actually came across this clearing. But again, what they saw 100 or so years ago is not what you're seeing now. At that time, in this rock formation, all that was here was a beautiful clear hot water spring with a little ledge about so high around it. You get a bit of an idea of what it would have looked like then, but on a much smaller scale if you look across at that rock formation over there. Now if you look carefully, you'll see a tree literally growing out of the rock. Bit in shadow at the moment, but that's Manuka, or New Zealand tea tree. And round its base there's another little ledge about so high, which marks the edge of what was then another hot spring. Now 100 years ago, prison life in New Zealand was pretty primitive. Those prisoners were over half a day's bumpy ride by horse from Rotorua. They didn't have access to any of the luxuries of life, and they certainly didn't have access to constant hot water. And some of them thought it'd be a great idea to bring the camp's dirty washing down to this large hot water spring that they had found here. That would save them the bother of gathering firewood, boiling water. So one morning, a group of them were down here, busy dipping their dirty clothes into the hot water spring. They pulled them out, scrubbed them up with some soap, dipped them back in to rinse them off, and they all got one heck of a fright. Because what happened was, this hot spring erupted. Their washing disappeared that way, and they disappeared that way. And we now know that what that soap did was to set off a chain reaction. It actually took the pressure off the colder water, which is at the very top of the reservoir below the geyser. That allowed the superheated steam and water from further down to force its way through those levels and out through the top in an eruption. And that's what we're going to do this morning. But instead of using soap, we now use a product called surfactant, which is chemically engineered to be about 99.9% biodegradable, so there's no residuals left in the reservoir below it. What I'm going to do is to put it all into the vent of the guys here, and if all goes to plan, what we should see in a few moments are some bubbles forming at the top of the vent here, and then as that hot water comes through, all this will be pushed out, and we'll see the water start to surge as she builds up into that first full eruption. Now to get from something that looked like that to this, what actually happened was those same prisoners piled rocks around the ledge and created a chimney. And the reason for doing that was for their own entertainment. Because in those days, they didn't have TVs, videos, any of that sort of gear. They had to make their own fun. By building that chimney, it forced the water into a narrower opening. That created a stronger jet and sent their clothes even higher. But then Mother Nature came along, and she actually gave her this white mantle and the cone shape that you are seeing now, and she's still doing it using a mineral called silica. Now that's in the geyser water. So each time there's an eruption, water shoots up into the air, falls over this area where it's the wind and the sun that evaporates the water, leaves behind that mineral which is built to this shape and this colouring. Quick bit of geology about the geyser. She's about 150 years old. The reservoir below her holds about 30,000 litres of water. She'll play for up to an hour, and she can hit heights of between 10 and 20 metres. But how high she goes, how long she stays there for, is totally dependent on the amount of water in that reservoir below her. So take your photos as she builds up into this first eruption, because there's no guarantee she's going to hit that height again. Just quickly, try and remember that down here we do not call these geysers. This is a geyser. A geyser to us is a two-legged elderly gentleman, not one of these. Take plenty of photos and enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Wow. That's awesome.
Wow. All right, get one good last look at it. So I'm stopping the video.